can happen when we have high risk for problem drinking. Assaults, property damage, noise complaints, sexual assaults, and a variety of other injuries. And I can tell you that most certainly during the hours of darkness, this right here, this list of stuff takes our time, a majority of our time. Sexual assaults, I can tell you that we have had victims say, I know something happened to me, but I can't tell you anything about it because I was too young to tell you. We've had victims be very severely bruised, beaten, and they cannot tell us who they were even with or where they were because they fully admit I was way too young. Well, just last week, a guy and gal, boyfriend, girlfriend, were walking along, and all of a sudden, he just, whoop, down he goes. Were you at that? No, okay. Down he goes and falls down this hill. And he gets about halfway down, but he's hurt, he's injured. But he was so drunk, he just fell, just boom, down he went. And so fire was called, EMS, police, obviously. And I don't know how long it took, 35 minutes or so to get him up because it wasn't an option of going to the bottom. You had to bring him right back up. And here he is on a cot. No doubt because he'd been drinking just way 2 years ago. And they were partying in this apartment above one of the businesses. And this young man is sitting like in a small window like this right there, facing in, talking to the rest of the people in the apartment. So he's sitting on the ledge, kind of hanging out with his back to the street. Well, he fell back and he died. His blood alcohol was over 0.5. Now, they're not for sure if he died when he hit the pavement or did he die when he was in the fall, because witnesses in that apartment said that he was taking a drink and then he just went boom, back. So did he die from alcohol poisoning? Very possible. Research. And it says here that drinking by college students aged 18 to 24 contributes to an estimated 1,700 student deaths, 500,000 injuries, 600,000 alcohol-involved assaults, 70,000 cases of sexual assault or date rape each year, and 2.8 million students who have driven under the influence of alcohol. And I put up there, Menomonie is a part of these statistics.
Problem drinking. Well, one of the things that strikes me is that we don't know, we have a definition for binge drinking. It's 5 or more drinks on one occasion. That's what it is. But we have a lot of people who consume alcohol that you look at and watch their behavior and you'd say, well, that's not a problem. It's not a problem. The problem is we don't know if it's a problem for that individual. Things are going to occur. So when you talk about problem drinking, it isn't defined, in my opinion, just by how many drinks, how often, those kinds of things that we typically use in our research. I want to put it that way. But the problem, from my perspective, is just taking a look at what the effects of alcohol in general are. And trying to describe that, I was trying to think of an apt analogy this morning. I thought it's like trying to tell someone how cancer works in the body. So when you talk about the effect of alcohol on our society and on our community, it's really hard to get a hold of. It really, really is. But I can tell you that just alcohol in general is something that is extremely pervasive, not just in Wisconsin, but across this country. Unfortunately, we hold a vast number of records as citizens of Wisconsin that make us stand out from all of the other 49 states when it comes to alcohol. And binge drinking is one of those. We're really good at it here. And from the perspective of the entire criminal justice system, not just the underage situations here and those related crimes and so on, we see it. Judge Meltzer sitting in the back. We see this every day. I have a young lady this week who has a tendency to drink to the point where I think her lowest blood alcohol concentration in her last 3 arrests was a .41. Now, I see Dr. Rosa sitting here. real problem throughout our community. I'm not going to go through a lot of the statistics here because Lieutenant Stelter talked a lot about those, but let me give you just a little bit broader perspective without stepping on her information. She's talking about the city of Menomonie. I'm talking about Dunn County. And if you take a look at this problem just from the standpoint of underage alcohol citations, we have over twice that many that we process in Dunn County. Well over twice that. And I'm going to look at the court system. I did some other calculations and I figured out that in processing those 800 to 900 tickets in this county, and all the direct costs and the indirect costs, not including law enforcement, because I have no idea how much time they allocate to this and so how they would determine the cost. But just the cost to Dunn County courts to process this is probably somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 a year. So is 167 a lot of money? Sure it is. Does Dunn County get that back? The thing that I'm noticing in most of the citations we get have a blood alcohol concentration by way of a PBT on them. And those are telling as well. They write it on the citation. And, you know, we used to see a lot of .01s, .02s, .03s, just trace amounts of alcohol in the system. And now it's not uncommon at all to see 1.8s, 2.1s, and in excess of .3. So the degree of drinking appears to be increasing. Again, I don't have any official numbers on that, but I think that's true. Then you take the indirect costs. A lot of these people, as Lieutenant Stelter mentioned, get involved in related criminal activity, whether it's criminal damage to property. We see that all the time. You don't know how many cases where we're trying to collect restitution because somebody binge drank, they broke out the window in the department store or whatever, or destroyed a door or going into a park, whatever. I mean, we're talking about probably in excess of $50,000 a year just damage to property in this community and in this county. So there are lots and lots of consequences. The resisting arrest, the battery to a peace officer, which is a felony. And that's not uncommon at all. Someone picked up for an underage citation, all of a sudden they get in a confrontation with the law enforcement officer, and they don't like it. And so they take it out on that officer. So we have injured officers walking around, and they're charged with a felony. A 21-year-old who you look at their GPA and it's a 3.8, you go, what's going on here? Alcohol's going on. And that is to take a look at why do we have this problem drinking. Well, we have it for a lot of reasons. And one of the things that's just absolutely crystal clear, especially as it relates to Wisconsin, is our culture. Our culture cultivates this type of activity using alcohol. We're the only state in the union that allows a parent to take a 12-year-old in the bar so they can have a gin and tonic sanctions. The other thing is people don't understand what the facts about alcohol are, which is why I'm glad you folks are here. Unfortunately, it's not you folks that probably have these issues to deal with, but you certainly are involved with a lot of people who do. And one of the problems is they don't know what they're doing to themselves. Now, is that a bad thing? Am I saying, boy, they're really stupid people? No. It's a lack of information. It's a lack of education. Is that good enough for everybody? No, it's not. But for a lot of folks who consume alcohol,